My wife said obey me or no intimacy, so I told her to keep it forever, walked away, and found someone better who truly valued me. So, I'm 34, male, and I guess I should start from the beginning. Not going to lie, it's weird typing all this out, but maybe it'll help someone else not make the same mistakes I did. My wife and I started off pretty damn good. We met at my buddy's housewarming party. She was his girlfriend's friend from college. I wasn't even planning to go that night because I had a big presentation at work the next day, but my buddy insisted. Funny how life works, huh? From day one, I was straight up with her about what I wanted. I've always been the type of guy who doesn't play games. If I'm interested, I'll tell you. If I'm not, I'll tell you that too. Some women don't like that direct approach, but she seemed to dig it. We dated for like a year and a half before I proposed. The wedding wasn't anything fancy, just close friends and family at this lake house her parents rented. I remember thinking I got lucky. She was hot, smart, had her own career going, and seemed to actually respect what I brought to the table. The first 5 years were solid. We had a system that worked. I handled all the man-of-the-house stuff, fixing the leaky sink, mowing the lawn, taking care of the cars, handling our investments. I make good money as a software developer, so I covered most of the bills, even though she worked too. She did the cooking, she's actually an amazing cook, kept the house clean, and planned all our social stuff. Traditional maybe, but it worked for us. We were that couple that other couples wanted to be around, you know. We didn't have those stupid public fights like some of our friends. We kept that in private and talked through our problems like adults. If I thought she was being unreasonable about something, I'd just tell her, and usually she'd see my point. If she had an issue with me, I'd listen and fix it if it made sense. One thing I was strict about from the beginning was maintaining my independence. I still hit the gym 5 days a week, still had my poker nights with the boys every other Thursday, and kept up with my hobbies. She had her girls' nights and yoga classes too. We didn't need to be attached at the hip 24/7 to trust each other. You're my rock, she used to tell me all the time. I've never felt so secure with anyone. But I'm going to be real. There were small moments where she'd shift. Like how she'd get all quiet if I made plans without checking with her first, or how she'd make these little comments if I was texting and laughing at something. "Who's so interesting?" with that fake casual tone. But it was so rare that I just brushed it off. I remember this one time, maybe 3 years in, when I got a text from a female coworker about a project at like 9 o'clock at night. Nothing inappropriate, just work stuff. My wife asked who it was, and I told her honestly. She made this joke like, should I be worried? I laughed it off, but thinking back, she was testing the waters. Another time, I went on a business trip to Seattle for a conference. I was supposed to be gone for 3 days but wrapped everything up in 2, so I came home a day early to surprise her. She acted happy to see me, but there was this weird moment where she seemed almost disappointed, like she had plans for her me time that I messed up. But again, I didn't think much of it. I thought we were rock solid. I had a good career that was taking off. We had just bought our house in a nice neighborhood. We were talking about maybe having kids in a year or 2. I was handling my business, keeping myself in good shape. I'm 6'2", was about 210 pounds and around 15% body fat then, providing, well, and thought I had a supportive partner who had my back. Man, I couldn't have been more wrong. The real test came when I got a call from a recruiter about a senior developer position at this hot new tech company. The salary was nearly double what I was making, with stock options, the whole package. The kind of opportunity that could set us up for early retirement if things went well. When I told her about it, she seemed genuinely happy for me. She hugged me tight and even planned this nice dinner to celebrate. "You deserve this," she said, raising her glass. "All your hard work is finally paying off." So, I started this new company. And it's everything the recruiter promised and more. The office is sick. Standing desks, free snacks, gym in the building, the works. My team is solid too. A bunch of smart people who actually know what they're doing. Not like my last place where I was basically carrying the whole dev department. The first few weeks were a grind, but in a good way. I was coming home pumped about the projects I was working on, telling my wife about the cool ascent we were building. The money was awesome too. First paycheck hit, and I took her out to this fancy steakhouse we normally only went to on anniversaries, ordered the good wine, the whole deal. She seemed happy for me, like genuinely happy. She'd ask me questions about work, seemed interested in the stuff I was doing. She even surprised me with a new laptop bag since my old one was falling apart. I remember thinking how lucky I was to have a partner who supported my career like that. Then things started to change, slowly at first. We have this thing at the new job where the whole team goes out for drinks after our weekly sprint review. On Thursdays, just a couple hours to unwind and talk about non-work stuff. Normal team building, right? The first time I mentioned it to her, she got this little crease between her eyebrows. Every Thursday? Like a regular thing? Yeah, it's just a team tradition. I'll probably be home around 7:30 to 8. She made this sound but didn't say more. I didn't think much of it. Second week, I texted her that we were wrapping up and heading to the bar. She sent back, "Who's all going?" I just replied, "The whole team," and left it at that. When I got home that night, she was waiting up for me. Not in a cute way, but in that arms crossed, sitting on the couch in the dark way. "Have fun?" she asked. But her tone was off. Yeah, it was chill. Just a couple beers and some shop talk. "Shop talk with Rachel too?" she asked. That's when I first felt that little alarm bell go off in my head. Rachel was one of our UX designers who I'd mentioned once or twice in passing. Nothing special about her, she was just part of the team. Yeah, she's on the team. Why? Just curious about who my husband is spending his Thursday nights with now. I literally laughed it off like, what the hell? We'd been married 5 years, and she'd never shown any jealous tendencies before. I figured it was just an off night for her or something, but then it kept happening. I'd mention someone from work with a female name, and she'd ask more questions. What does she look like? How old is she? Is she single? I started noticing she was checking my phone when I was in the shower, my texts, my email, even my feffing work Slack. It got to where I dreaded talking about work, because I knew she'd be looking for some evidence that I was up to no good. And the thing is, I wasn't. I've never cheated in my life, not on her, not on anyone. It's a line I don't cross. About 2 months into the new gig, I got put on this big project with a tight deadline. Me and 4 other devs, including this woman named Jessica who was our back-end specialist, were all putting in long hours to get this thing shipped on time. Nothing crazy, just staying till 7 or 8 some nights to push through blockers. My wife lost her over it. Why does it have to be you staying late? Don't they have junior developers who can do the grunt work? I tried explaining that's not how software development works, but she didn't want to hear it. She started texting me constantly when I was at work. "Where are you? Who are you with? When are you coming home?" It got so bad, my team lead noticed and asked if everything was okay at home. Despite all that, I started being more considerate to ease her worries. I made a point to bring her flowers after late nights at the office, reminding her that she was always on my mind, which she truly was. I'd leave little notes for her in the mornings assuring her that there was no one else, that she was it for me. I cut down on the after-work hangouts, coming straight home instead, and made a point to share details about my day just to let her know there was nothing to hide. I wanted her to feel secure, to know she was the only one who mattered, but she didn't quite resonate with the vibe. The project lasted 3 weeks. By the end of it, she was barely speaking to me unless it was to make some snide comment about my work wife Jessica. Mind you, Jessica was like 45, married with 3 teenagers, and looked nothing like my wife's mental image of some homewrecker. "I think you should look for another job," she said one night, completely out of the blue. I nearly choked on my dinner. What? Why the hell would I do that? This place isn't good for our marriage. You're never home, you're always stressed, and the environment seems inappropriate. Inappropriate? What does that even mean? You know what I mean. All these women you work with, all these late nights and happy hours. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was making almost twice what I used to make. The work was challenging in a good way, and my career was finally taking off, and she wanted me to throw it all away because what? She couldn't handle me working with female colleagues? I laughed. "That's not happening," I told her flat out. "This is the best opportunity I've ever had, and I'm not giving it up because of some paranoid fantasy you've created in your head." That set her off, big time. We had our first real screaming match that night. She accused me of prioritizing work over our marriage. I accused her of trying to sabotage my career because of her insecurities. Not my proudest moment, but I was just so frustrated. After that night, things got even worse. She started giving me the cold shoulder. If I tried to kiss her goodbye in the morning, she'd turn her face away. If I reached for her in bed, she'd move to the edge. Always with this little comment like, "I'm sure Jessica would be more than willing," or some other sense. Meanwhile, I kept doing all the stuff I was supposed to do, still handled the yard work and house maintenance, still paid all the bills, still tried to plan date nights that she'd usually find some excuse to cancel. I was bending over backwards trying to prove I was the same guy she married. One Friday, I left work early to surprise her, made a reservation at her favorite restaurant, the whole 9 yards. Came home to find her sitting at the computer, scrolling through my work email that I'd stupidly left logged in on our home computer. What are you doing? I asked, flowers still in hand. She didn't even look embarrassed. Just pointed at the screen where there was a completely innocent email thread about a project between me and a female product manager. Who's Michelle? You've never mentioned her before. That's when I knew we were in serious trouble. This wasn't normal jealousy, this was obsession, and it was getting worse by the day. I should have addressed it head on right then. Should have insisted on couples therapy or something, but instead I just kept trying to prove my innocence, kept trying to reassure her, kept trying to be the perfect husband despite her increasingly crazy behavior. Big mistake, because a person who's determined to find evidence of cheating will eventually find it, even if they have to make it up. The situation just kept getting worse over the next few weeks. She was checking my phone constantly now, not even trying to hide it anymore. If I got a text notification, she'd ask who it was before I even had a chance to read it. If I put my phone face down on the table, she'd make some comment about me hiding something. I started feeling like I was being stalked in my own house. Every conversation felt like a minefield. If I mentioned work, she'd get suspicious. If I didn't mention work, she'd accuse me of deliberately hiding things from her. There was no winning. One night I was in the shower when my phone dinged with a text. By the time I got out, she was standing there with my phone in her hand, face like a thundercloud. Who the hell is Allison, and why is she texting you at 9:30 at night? I sighed and wrapped a towel around my waist. Allison is our project manager. She's texting the whole team about the meeting tomorrow morning. If you scroll up, you'd see it's a group text with like 8 people on it. Well, it seems very unprofessional to be texting after hours. It's about work. That's literally the most professional reason possible to text someone. She tossed my phone on the bed and stormed out. I just stood there, dripping on the carpet, wondering what the hell happened to the woman I married. I tried everything I could think of to reassure her. I offered to show her my phone anytime she wanted. I invited her to company events so she could meet my co-workers. I came straight home after work instead of going to the gym so she wouldn't have to wonder where I was. Nothing helped. Her friends tried talking to her too. Her best friend Kate came over for wine one night, and I overheard her telling my wife she was being ridiculous. He's always been crazy about you, you're seeing problems that don't exist. But my wife was convinced I was up to something. The more everyone told her she was wrong, the more she dug in her heels. It was like she was determined to find evidence of me cheating, and if she couldn't find any, she'd just imagine it. After about 4 months at the new job, things came to a head. It was a Thursday, and I texted to let her know we were wrapping up a project and the team was going for a quick celebration drink. Nothing unusual, we'd done this dozens of times and I'd always been home by 8:30. Her response, do whatever you want, you will anyway. I almost skipped the team thing because of that text, but my team lead insisted. I come for at least one drink since I'd been leading the project. So I went, stayed for exactly one drink, and headed home. It was barely 7:15 when I walked in the door. She was sitting at the kitchen table, arms crossed. Have fun with your work friends? She asked, voice dripping with sarcasm. It was fine, just a quick drink. We shipped the project on time. I'm sure shipping the project isn't all you did. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. What's that supposed to mean? You know exactly what it means. Don't play dumb. I was tired, so tired of this endless suspicion. No, actually, I don't know what it means. Why don't you just say what you're thinking instead of these little jabs? She stood up, getting right in my face. Fine. I think you're sleeping with someone at work. Probably Jessica or Rachel or whoever else you've been mentioning. I literally laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was so absurd. You think I have the time or energy to cheat on you when I can barely manage to? Have a conversation with my own wife without it turning into an interrogation? I'm working 50-hour weeks, then coming home to this every night, and you think I'm somehow fitting in an affair? People make time for what they want, she snapped. I shook my head. This is insane. I've done nothing wrong, nothing. I got a better job, which benefits both of us financially, and somehow that's turned me into the bad guy. If it was just about the money, you could find another job that pays well, but you won't even consider it, so clearly there's something or someone keeping you there. That's when I realized how far gone she was. No amount of evidence or reassurance was going to change her mind. I'm not quitting my job, I said firmly. That's not happening. You need to find a way to deal with your insecurity because this isn't sustainable. Her eyes narrowed, and then she dropped the bomb. Listen to me carefully. If you don't obey me and quit that job, you can forget about ever touching me again. No bedroom activities whatsoever until you do exactly what I want. Your choice. I sat there, staring at her, waiting for her to realize the weight of what she had just said. Her arms were crossed, her chin tilted up slightly, as if she expected me to crumble under the pressure of her ultimatum, like she genuinely believed this would work, that I would break, beg, or at the very least scramble to prove myself worthy of her affection. That was the moment everything clicked. This wasn't just a heat-of-the-moment argument. This wasn't about a disagreement that escalated too far. This was a pattern, a cycle of control disguised as normal marital conflict, and I had played into it for far too long. I laughed, genuinely amused, which caught her off guard. "What's so funny?" she snapped. I leaned back, letting out the last of my amusement before meeting her gaze. "Perfect. Keep it forever." Silence. She blinked, as if waiting for me to take it back to explain that I didn't mean it, that I was just angry. But I wasn't angry. I wasn't even hurt. I was just done. I stood up, grabbed my phone off the table, and walked out of the room. For the first time in our relationship, I didn't feel the need to explain myself. I didn't care to fight for her understanding or prove why she was wrong. Let her sit with it. Let her realize that this time, her tactics wouldn't work. I walked into the bedroom, grabbed a pillow and a blanket, and moved to the guest room without a word. She didn't follow me. She must have assumed I just needed time to cool off, that in an hour or two, I'd come back, apologize, and try to smooth things over. Maybe she thought I'd try to make a deal with her, offer some kind of compromise to earn back what she was withholding. But she had nothing I wanted. I lay down in the guest bed, staring at the ceiling, letting the realization settle in. I wasn't afraid of losing her. I was relieved. That night changed everything. Not because of what she said or did, but because of what I finally understood. I deserved better than this. And I was done trying to prove myself to someone who was determined to see the worst in me. The next morning, I woke up in the guest bed feeling different, ice-fing cold, like something inside me had finally snapped. All those months of accusations, all those nights of her making me feel like S for no reason. It was payback time. I got up earlier than usual, showered, and put on one of my better shirts. When I walked into the kitchen, she was already there, waiting, coffee cup in hand. She had that smug look on her face, like she was expecting me to break down and apologize like I always did. She cleared her throat. "So, are you done acting childish?" I took a long, slow sip of my coffee, staring right at her over the rim of the mug. Then, I smiled, not a friendly smile, but the kind that says you fuff it up and don't even know it yet. "Yeah, actually, I am." Her eyes narrowed slightly, not getting it. She was waiting for the begging, the negotiating, the desperate attempts to get back in her good graces. None of it came. Instead, I finished my coffee, rinsed the mug but deliberately left it in the sink instead of putting it in the dishwasher like I normally would, grabbed my stuff, and walked out without another word. As I got in my car, I actually laughed out loud. The look on her face was priceless. For the first time, she wasn't the one calling the shots, and it felt goddamn amazing. From that day on, I made it my mission to give her a taste of her own medicine. She wanted to play games? Fine, I could play better. I stopped doing literally anything that benefited her. No more picking up her favorite snacks at the store. No more making sure her car had gas. No more fixing the little things around the house that bothered her but not me. The wobbly chair in the dining room? Not my problem anymore. The weird noise the dishwasher made that drove her crazy? Guess she'd just have to live with it. She doesn't want to do her part in this effed up relationship? Then why would I? I kept doing my own laundry but stopped doing any of hers that used to get mixed in with mine. I'd cook meals just for myself, eat, clean up my own plate, and leave the kitchen spotless, except for her dirty dishes. I'd buy groceries but only stuff I liked. None of her favorite foods made it into the cart anymore. At first, she tried to act like it didn't bother her. She'd roll her eyes or make these little huffing noises when I'd walk by without acknowledging her. But I could tell it was eating her up inside. She was used to being the one withholding things, not the other way around. About a week into my new approach, she tried to get a reaction out of me. I was watching a basketball game, a team she knew I was really into, when she deliberately came and sat down near me on the couch. "So, this is how it's going to be now?" she asked after making this dramatic sigh. "What are you talking about?" I asked, not even bothering to look away from the TV. This whole ignoring me thing, the silent treatment. I'm not ignoring you, I'm watching the game." I kept my voice emotionless. "Oh, really? Because it sure feels like it." I shrugged, eyes still on the screen. "I'm just done wasting energy on pointless conversations." Her jaw tightened. "So, because you didn't get your way, now you're throwing a tantrum?" That made me laugh, which pissed her off even more. "Nah, this is just me not giving a cent anymore. she wasn't ready for that. She was used to me getting defensive, trying to explain myself, eventually giving in just to keep the peace. But now, I was giving her nothing to work with. And I was enjoying every second of it. The real satisfaction came a few days later. I'd gotten home from work, made myself an amazing steak dinner, without making anything for her of course, and was cleaning up my own dishes. She was standing by the sink with this expectant look, clearly waiting for me to crack, to say something, to try and make peace. Normally, this would be when I'd break down, when I'd make some joke, or comment to ease the tension, to try and get back to normal. Instead, I finished washing my plate, dried my hands, and walked right past her without a word or a glance. The look on her face was priceless, like she couldn't believe her most reliable weapon, making me feel bad until I caved, had suddenly stopped working. I focused on improving myself, partly for me, partly to rub it in her face. I fixed my sleep schedule, claiming the guest room as my room, buying better sheets and a memory foam pillow, and sleeping like a baby, waking up refreshed at 5:30 in the morning. Knowing it annoyed her, felt great. I hit the gym hard, setting up a home gym and blasting music loud enough for her to hear. Every drop of sweat felt like shedding her control. I upgraded my look too, ditching boring clothes for ones that actually looked good. I'd dress up just to grab coffee, knowing it made her wonder where I was going. She noticed. I'd catch her staring after my workouts or asking where I was heading on weekends. I'd just say, out, and leave her wondering. Then I really ramped things up. I started going out a lot. I was barely home, and when I was in my room or garage or just generally anywhere she wasn't. Every time I walked out that door, I could feel her anxiety spike, and honestly, it felt great. The more I focused on myself and my own happiness, the less I cared about hers. And that's when she really started to panic. She was losing her grip on me and had no playbook for this situation. The old tactics, guilt, accusations, withholding affection. None of it worked anymore because I genuinely didn't care. I wasn't playing her game, I was playing mine, and she wasn't invited. She tried to double down on the cold shoulder, thinking if she just held out long enough, I'd break. But days turned into weeks, and I seemed happier than ever, while she was clearly miserable. Her little power play had completely backfired. Then came the shift in strategy. It all started one time when I was getting ready to head out on a Saturday night, dressed better than I used to when we went out together, smelling good, looking good. She appeared in the doorway of my room. "Are you going out again?" she asked. And for the first time, I heard something new in her voice, desperation. I glanced at her briefly while putting on my watch. "Yeah. With who?" The question slipped out before she could stop herself. I smirked, adjusting my sleeves. "Does it matter?" That hit her hard. I saw her physically flinch, her fingers tightening on the doorframe. For months, I was giving her just enough rope to hang herself with her own paranoia. "I just think it's strange," she said, trying to sound casual but failing. "You never used to go out this much." I turned to face her, my expression neutral. "Yeah, I never used to do a lot of things." She stood there, waiting for me to say something else, but I didn't. I grabbed my keys, walked past her, and left without another word. The look on her face was almost worth all the S's sent. She'd put me through. A few days later, I came home from work to find her wearing this outfit she knew I used to like, hair done nice, makeup on. She'd cleaned the whole house, made my favorite dinner, even bought that drink I liked that she always complained was too expensive. "Thought we could have a nice night in," she said, trying to sound casual but coming across as desperate. "Not hungry," I replied, grabbing a protein bar instead. I already ate with the guys after work. I hadn't actually, but watching her stare at the meal she'd prepared while I walked away, that felt good. Petty, maybe, but that "you should obey me" wasn't just a phrase. It was a slap in the face, like I was some kid who needed to follow orders. Not a grown man who'd built his life and career from the ground up. Well, she wanted obedience and control. I wanted freedom, and that moment, that was the line being drawn. During all that mess, her best friend, Kate, had been coming over more often, supposedly to hang out with my wife. They would sit, and I was pretty damn sure my wife kept venting to her about me. But I also noticed that Kate always seemed to find a way to talk to me alone. At first, I thought she was just trying to play peacemaker, get my side of the story. But one day, when I was working in the garage on my car, Kate came out, with 2 coffees, handed me one, and leaned against the workbench. "She's a mess, you know," Kate said. After a few minutes of small talk, I shrugged, focusing on the engine. Not my problem anymore. She realizes she fucked up, she just doesn't know how to fix it. I looked up at that There's nothing to fix. She showed me exactly who she is, and I believe her. Kate was quiet for a moment, then said something I didn't expect. I told her she was being ridiculous from day one. I said she was going to lose you if she kept it up. Smart woman, I replied. You've changed, Kate said, studying me, not in an accusatory way, just observing. Had to. No, I mean, you seem stronger now, more confident. She paused, taking a sip of her coffee. It's a good look on you. I caught something in her tone that made me look at her more carefully. Kate had always been attractive, objectively speaking, probably more so than my wife. They'd been friends since college, and I'd always been friendly with her but kept a respectful distance. But now, I was noticing things I'd overlooked before, the way she maintained eye contact a bit too long, how she'd find excuses to touch my arm when making a point, the fact that she was coming over more often. Now that things between me and my wife were clearly on the rocks, these conversations became more frequent. Kate would stop by, supposedly to see my wife, but would always find a few minutes to talk to me alone. At first, it was about the situation with my wife, but gradually it shifted to other topics: books, movies, her job, my job. One evening, Kate stopped by when my wife wasn't home, supposedly to drop off something, though I noticed she didn't actually have anything with her. We ended up talking in the kitchen for almost an hour. As she was leaving, she touched my arm while laughing at something I said. The touch lingered, and I saw something in her eyes I couldn't mistake. I took a step back. We shouldn't go there. She looked down, not denying what I was implying. I know, I'm sorry. It's just, seeing how she treats you, and knowing what kind of man you really are. I'm still married, I reminded her. Unhappy, but married. She nodded. I understand. For what it's worth, you deserve better. After she left, I thought about how my wife would react if she knew her best friend was developing feelings for me. Part of me was tempted to let something slip, just to twist the knife a little. But I decided against it, not because I cared about sparing my wife's feelings, but because it would make me look like the bad guy, and I wasn't about to give her any ammunition after I'd spent so long being falsely accused. The irony of the situation wasn't lost on me, though. For months, my wife had been accusing me of being interested in other women, creating this whole paranoid fantasy about me cheating at work, and now here was actual temptation right under her nose, from her own best friend, and I was the one shutting it down. But the craziest part was, the more I pulled away emotionally, the more affectionate she tried to be physically. After weeks of using intimacy as a weapon against me, she was now trying to use it as a way to reel me back in. She'd accidentally brush against me in the kitchen. She'd wear less around the house. One night, she actually tried to slip into the guest room, my room now, wearing next to nothing. I gently but firmly asked her to leave. Why? She demanded, clearly not expecting that response. I'm your wife. You made your conditions very clear, I reminded her. I chose not to meet them. Now we both live with that choice. Her eyes filled with tears. So, you are seeing someone else? I said truthfully. No. Then why won't you even try to fix this? Because this isn't about fixing anything. It's about respect. You tried to control me using intimacy as leverage. That showed me exactly what you are. She left the room crying. The next morning, she acted like nothing had happened. But I could see it in her eyes. She was running out of plays. The ultimate test came when I had to go on a business trip for 3 days. In the old days, she would have bombarded me with texts, calls, demanded I check in constantly, probably accused me of all sorts of things while I was gone. But now, she was terrified I wouldn't come back at all. The night before I left, she made one last desperate attempt. She made dinner and put on music. I thought we could have a nice evening before your trip, she said, trying to sound casual. I need to pack, I said. I can help, she offered, too quickly. No need. It's just 3 days. As I walked away, I heard her ask in a small voice, You are coming back, right? I paused and looked back at her. I have a return ticket. The morning after I got back from my business trip, I knew exactly what I had to do. I waited until she left for work, then called a divorce attorney and scheduled a consultation for that afternoon. Took a half day off work, met with the lawyer, and got the ball rolling. It was surprisingly easy, like I should have done it months ago. When she got home that evening, I was sitting at the kitchen table, calm and composed. She must have sensed something was different because she froze in the doorway, her eyes darting around like she was looking for clues. Can we talk? I said, gesturing to the chair across from me. She sat down slowly, tension radiating off her. What's going on? I decided to just rip the Band-Aid off. I met with a divorce attorney today. I'm filing papers this week. The color drained from her face. For a few seconds, she just stared at me, like I was speaking a foreign language. Then came the flood of reactions: shock, anger, panic, bargaining, all hitting at once. "You can't be serious," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Dead serious." "But why? Because of one fight? Because I asked you to consider changing jobs?" I almost laughed. This isn't about one fight, but months of accusations, manipulation, and weaponized intimacy that finally showed me who you really are. And I believe it. "We can fix this," she said, reaching for my hand across the table. I pulled back before she could touch me. "We can go to counseling. I'll change. I know I've been insecure about your job, but I can work on that." "It's too late," I said. "I don't want this anymore." Her eyes filled with tears. "So, that's it? You're just giving up on us on all these years?" I shook my head. "No, I'm finally choosing myself." Those words hit her like a physical blow. She recoiled, staring at me like she'd never seen me before, and maybe she hadn't. Not this version of me, anyway. Not the version that wouldn't bend to her will. Once she realized I was serious, she went through every emotion in the book. Some days, she'd be furious, screaming that I was ruining everything over nothing. Other days, she'd collapse in tears, begging me to reconsider, promising she'd change, saying she'd do anything to save our marriage. Then she told everyone I was having an affair: friends, family, anyone who'd listen. Most didn't buy it, but some did. Her sister called, accusing me of cheating with Kate, her best friend. I laughed. "There's nothing going on with Kate or anyone. Your sister made that up." When she asked why I was leaving, I told her the truth: "Because your sister tried to control me with intimacy, didn't trust me, and I'm done." There was silence then. I didn't know about that part. I told her to ask about the ultimatum. She never called again. The divorce process itself was messier than I'd hoped. She fought me on everything: the house, the savings, even stuff that was clearly mine from before we got married. Her lawyer sent these ridiculous demands, probably hoping I'd give in just to get it over with. But I wasn't that guy anymore. I didn't cave. I didn't seek the easy path. I stuck to what was fair and refused to budge on the rest. And the thing with Kate got complicated too. Word got back to my wife that Kate had been stopping by to talk to me alone, and she absolutely lost it, accused us both of betraying her, said we'd probably been carrying on behind her back for years. It wasn't true, of course, but she needed someone to blame, and Kate was an easy target. Kate called me after their falling out, apologizing for making things worse. "I never meant for this to happen," she said. I saw how she was treating you, and it made me so angry." "It's not your fault," I assured her. She would have found some reason to explode regardless. "For what it's worth," Kate said before hanging up, "I meant what I said. You deserve better." I moved out before the divorce was finalized. I couldn't take the daily drama anymore: the crying, the accusations, the desperate attempts to get me to change my mind. I found a decent one-bedroom apartment not far from work, packed my essentials, and left while she was visiting her parents one weekend. When she realized I was really gone, she showed up at my apartment. Don't know how she found the address, probably from one of our mutual friends. She was a mess. She stood in the doorway saying I couldn't just walk away like she meant nothing. She apologized, said we deserved another chance, but it wasn't the first or even the third chance. It was a pattern, and I was done. I closed the door, and that was the last real conversation we had. 3 months later, the divorce was finalized. She didn't show. I felt nothing but relief. My apartment became a home. Simple, peaceful, and mine. I still hear about her. She jumped into another relationship and sabotaged it the same way. She tells people I cheated, though fewer believe her now. 2 months after the divorce, Kate texted me. We met for coffee, which turned into dinner. There was this moment when we were walking to our cars when everything just clicked. "I always wondered what would have happened if we'd met first," she said. "We don't have to wonder anymore," I told her. "We've been dating for 4 months now." My ex lost it when she found out, accused us of planning this all along. The irony. Kate and I were only ever friends until after everything ended. The best part? Total trust. No checking phones, no questioning late work nights, no guilt trips. After years of walking on eggshells, it's like learning to breathe again. I know my worth now and what I won't tolerate. Walking away isn't weakness, it's choosing yourself. Sometimes the strongest move isn't staying, it's knowing when to walk. Better was closer than I thought, just on the other side of a really bad marriage.